I had actually done a series in Los Angeles for a few years, and our kids reached a high school age, and it was just not that comfortable a place to live. It didn't really feel like home, and we needed to make a decision about where we were going to live to raise our kids and stop moving around, essentially, just for my work. So I took a show here in Canada, and it was called Nothing Too Good for a Cowboy, and then that turned into another show, and the next thing you know, is 12, 15 years we've been back in Canada. So I started to push towards my career, push my career towards the U.S. again, and I was down in Los Angeles, and I read for Murdoch Mysteries, and sure enough, I come right back here to do it. And luckily, we were set up here, we were living here, and it was you know, like a grand slam. It's shot here, people get to see it here, and I guess that's the main thing, because up until very recently, most of my family were like, yeah, I think he's an actor, says he's an actor, but nobody'd really seen any domestic product, so it was good to be able to have all my family and friends see something that I do. Well, for lack of a better term, people seem to throw around procedurals, whether that's you know, detective or police or legal and stuff like that, and it seems to be the bulk of what's out there on television, aside from the factual and reality TV and stuff like that, is about crime and punishment and all that sort of stuff. It seems to be what there's the most appetite for. So those shows are always out there, and yeah, I've done a few, all slightly different. I mean, you know, as far as mysteries, I was even watching TV last night, and this kids show that I did years ago called Roxy Hunter was on, and there I was helping to solve a mystery in a kids show. So it was a bit weird. I don't know, I guess there's just that much appetite for it that it tends to be the bulk of what's available. Living here in Canada and what used to be part of the Commonwealth, you know, more here than some of the time that I spent growing up in the U.S. There were always murder mystery shows, English ones, as well as American ones. So I definitely adopted some of what I'd seen in the past, even a little bit of Doctor Who. I think we have a little bit of that in our show as well. Yeah, I guess just stuff I picked up along the way. You know, because there's also the camaraderie, there's also, you know, superior, subordinate. There are a lot of dynamics in the show, as well as romance, and you know, it I guess is a hodgepodge of a lot of different things that I've been a fan of over the years. You know, all the different Sherlock Holmes, as well as things like, gosh, you know, Remington Steele, Jake and the Fat Man, Simon and Simon. Even Barney Miller. Sometimes I do a little bit of Barney Miller. You know, like I've been a fan of television a long time. I directed the aspects that Stephen Harper was involved in. The director of that particular episode, I believe, is Gail Harvey. Yeah, it was an odd thing that was completely. We actually had that scene already in a different version, and we tailored it. It just seemed to all work top to bottom seamlessly to insert that scene in. and have it work with you know, the Prime Minister of the day as well as the Prime Minister of the day, and it was a lot of fun. He was great. I wish I'd had more time to actually think about it. It all sort of happened really quickly, and then next thing you know, I was telling the head of our country what to do. And then it was over with just like that. And I said, did that just happen? Yeah, that just happened. And you know what? Honestly, we move really quickly on our show. You're on to the next thing, on to the next thing. Next thing you know, it's the new season. And people have asked me often, and so I get to think about it and sort of noodle on it a bit more and a bit more. And I really appreciated the fact that he was committed to doing it. He was writing us back and forth with ideas about the actual content, because he's a hockey historian and he's very knowledgeable in that. And that's what they were talking about in the scene. And subsequently, he's actually given us some episode ideas which we used. So he was totally committed. I really appreciated that.
Cool. I would like to go and correct the Prime Minister. Hey, so do you mind moving that way instead of this way?
Yeah. He's also one of those guys. I like to say he kind of has the force runs strongly through him, because he's one of those guys. He's like, you don't want to do that. You want to do this. Pay no attention to these droids. These droids are not the ones you're looking for. And you're like, okay. You know, he's just that type of guy. He has a commanding presence, but he's not overbearing. And you know, I think, man, I want to be like that. I was acting at a young age, but if I go back to, you know, childhood, when we all start thinking about these things, you want to be a fireman, you want to be a policeman, you want to be a carpenter. I wanted to be everything. As a matter of fact, I've said this before, I wanted to be the Aqua Velva man. They used to have these Aqua Velva commercials, and the guy would do all this amazing stuff, you know. He'd kayak down a river, you know, he would drive a car down a country road, he'd, you know, ice sail across a lake, and then he'd throw a blanket down in front of the fire, and this beautiful blonde woman would join him, and he was the Aqua Velva man. And I was like, that's what I want to do. Pretty much everything. So be an actor, then you can do everything. You can pretend to do everything. No, but seriously, I think it really started to become a focus for me, or at least I started taking it seriously much more in my late 20s and in my 30s, where I became aware of, you know, you got to be serious. It is a business. It's not show talent or show wait around. It's show business. And I started to take it a lot more seriously and apply myself. You know, always make sure you're in shape and establishing connections and diversifying your resume. One of the people that I have a great pleasure working with on Murdoch Mysteries is Jim Jeffrey. He's an award-winning director of photography. He's really a large reason why we're able to do Murdoch at all, because he's able to give us quality lighting at breakneck speed. We don't have huge budgets. We don't have a whole lot of time. We shoot our show in a very, very short amount of time. And he's just fantastic. He's also done a lot of documentaries, a lot of news. He did Detroit News in the 70s. It was crazy. So he approached me one day and told me that his son Jason was shooting his first film. And I didn't even ask. I said, sure, what day and where? And then next thing you know, I was shooting Your Side of the Bed. It was... And I think a very poignant story, and I know it's going to be beautiful, because I know Jason and Jim and Kelly, Jason's brother, were they're great. So I have no doubt it's going to be, the final product's going to be awesome. It's actually two things. One of the things that I see most often, and I've felt myself, is often resentment, feeling like, oh, come on, I worked so hard, and it's just so disappointment after disappointment, and I was perfect for that part, or it could be a million things. And the truth is, having seen so many other sides of the business, it really comes down to if you're right for the part. Because if you got the audition, then you already did your job. You're good enough. It's a matter of just being right for the part. And it's not whether you're good enough or somebody's lacking imagination and all the different things that you hear. It's just a matter of being right. And then beyond that, there's financial structures. There's certain people that are bankable, and you can go and obtain funding for your film if you have this particular person in place. That's a whole other conversation. So the one thing that I tell young people or anybody that I meet that's aspiring to work in this industry is to have other things that you're passionate about. And I don't mean like a plan B or something to fall back on, but something that you can be creative and find fulfillment in, something that's enjoyable. Because I think a lot of people think that they're going to get a lot more out of showbiz than showbiz will ever give you. They think that there's this magic pot of gold at the end of the rainbow of good feelings and positive reinforcement and all that. It's just a job, and it's a business. And find other things to be creative with, and that feed you, that give to you. And yeah, there are days when showbiz feeds me and gives to me, but there are a lot more the days that it doesn't. So I do other things to enjoy in life.